The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
You want to have Eretz Yisrael, the Gemara tells us, Eretz Yisrael niknit b'yisurin, is acquired only with yisurin, with pain, with difficulty. And I still remember when I moved to Israel as a young man to study Torah. I lived there almost for 10 years, 2 years single, then I returned back as well, lived there for another 6.5 years, married, etc., some time in between. So maybe between almost 9 years I lived there straight in a row, besides for all the times that we've gone to visit. But I remember going there, and what was amazing was as we were traveling, I got a phone call. And the phone call was from the man who was renting us our apartment in Yerushalayim in Ma'alot Dafna. And he said, "I'm really sorry to tell you, but unfortunately, the apartment that we agreed that you would be renting, I've rented it out to some yeshiva boys." Now they realize, these Ba'alei Dirah, these guys who own apartments, that if you subdivide an apartment and rent it to 5 guys or 6 guys and put a guy in every corner, right? You can make more money from rent than if you rent it to a couple of 2 people. So it's a small apartment. The guy decided maybe it was the day we were flying. I have all my stuff packed. I'm all dressed up like they say, with nowhere to go. So my friends, I'll give you just the example I just want you to understand what happened. We at the time, the tickets that were cheap enough that we could afford were through Turkish Air through Istanbul. Hava Yolari is the brand strapline of Turkish Air. So we flew Turkish from America to Istanbul, and from Istanbul we were connecting to Jerusalem. So I'm on Turkish Air. My wife is like, "What are we going to do?" I was like, "Don't worry, it's going to be okay." We get to Eretz, we get to Turkey. I had a copy of a Jewish or Israeli newspaper, and I had in the classifieds different apartments that were for rent. So in between the flights, we didn't have much time. I quickly ran and I bought myself an international credit card, international calling card. Remember those? You stuck them in the wall, right? And it had 60 credits. I was like, okay, I'll make some phone calls. So I found one apartment that we could actually afford, that we could rent. We were going to rent it by the day, by the week, until we found somewhere to live. So I get to the telephone, I stick my card in, and I'm talking to the guy. It's already late at night. The guy, he didn't want to answer. He answers the phone after I called 2-3 times. I told him, "Look, I'm desperate, otherwise I wouldn't be calling you so late. My apartment got canceled right before our flight. We're flying, we have nowhere to go. Please, is there any way I could rent your apartment?" The guy's like, "Look, I'm really sorry. There's people in the apartment," while he's telling me that the apartment's not clean and he doesn't want me to come that night to stay in his apartment. I look at my credits on the card, and I see that as he's talking, it's going 11, 10, 9. It was 1 credit per second, Yemach Shemam. So this whole conversation had to last less than a minute. Anyway, so I realized I have 10 seconds left. I said, "Listen, I don't care about the state of the apartment. Strip it. Even if we have to sleep on apartments with no beds, with no sheets, we'll sleep on them. Just know we are coming no matter what. Don't worry, whatever state it's in, it's fine." Click. I run out of credits. The guy didn't even have time to answer me. I look at my wife. I was like, "I have to go get another card. We got to call the guy back." My wife says, "Honey, the flight, they're already closing boarding. If we don't get on the flight, it's not going to matter. When we're stuck in Istanbul, it's the last place in the world we want to be stuck." Okay? We get on the plane. I still have no idea if we're actually going to be able to get there. I still remember it was a tiny apartment right around the corner from Zichron Moshe, which was, by the way, as a young man, the best place to pray. To live is a place where you have 24 hours a day minyanim. So whatever time you woke up late, you always have mincha, always have arbi. You're trying to do shalom bayit, your wife needs you for a few extra minutes. No worries. There's 400 more minyanim for mincha, about a stone's throw from your apartment. Okay? So we get in the car, we drive to this place. I don't know. It's already 12:30 at night. I don't even know if the guy's up. I don't know if there's an apartment. We get into this place. My friends, we moved from that apartment to another apartment. And from that apartment to another apartment in Harnof, and from that apartment to another apartment. My friends, it was a nightmare. And my wife said, in one of the apartments, that we had to stay in one of these temporary apartments as we're draining the little savings we have on temporary apartments. She says to me, Shlomo, we just saw a tarantula in our apartment. We've moved from place to place. Is God telling us not to stay here? You know, sometimes things go wrong again and again and again. What do you learn? Hashem's telling you, you're making the wrong move, right? I said to her, the Gemara says, Eretz Israel niknit b'yisurin. It's acquired in suffering, with difficulty. And in fact, I just said this just now to my son-in-law who moved there. I said, if you got to acquire Eretz Israel and it was easy, it's a sign that you did not acquire it at all. And what you're doing is borrowing it, renting it, but you've not actually got a piece of Eretz Israel.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. Stories to inspire.org